Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Fireside Chat with Google Veterans, part of our Google Careers On Air initiative. My name is Jeff Hamill, and I'm a sales director in our Devices and Services business organization at Google, which means I work with a variety of our partners to help connect users with our amazing hardware and services. I have been with Google for almost 6 years and was fortunate enough to also have spent 8 years in the Navy Reserves. I am also part of our leadership team for Google's Veterans Network, our employee resource group known as VetNet, and I will be moderating our panel today. Today is a unique opportunity to hear firsthand from 3 amazing Googler veterans, Alex, Liz, and Michael, about their path to Google. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge that we are recording this session in a challenging time for many. As many have been impacted from recent economic downturn, I hope this session is valuable and helps you get one step closer to your future. The same skills and experiences many of us gained in the military is exactly what makes so many veterans great Googlers. Whether it's your strong sense of teamwork, a commitment to serving communities around the world, your leadership skills, or your ability to handle complex situations under pressure, we recognize the culture and value add of the veteran community. Opportunities for veterans, both technical and business focused, reach across every team at Google. Even if you don't immediately know what role or team is the best match for your skills, I want to say we're here to help. So let's get started. Liz, Mike, Alex, welcome. Thank you for making time. Let's start off with brief introductions from each of you. Would you mind sharing your name, your branch of service, what you do at Google, and a little bit about what you were doing beforehand? Alex, would you mind kicking us off?
Yeah, I'm happy to get us started. So my name is Alex Grant. I'm a former Army transportation officer, and I've been at Google for a bit over 5 years now. I'm in an organization called GTech, which is short for Google Technical Services, and I'm a product support manager supporting a product called Google My Business. Prior to coming to Google, I worked at Amazon and I worked at UMA, which was at that time a startup. And before my time in the Army, I graduated from West Point in 2008. So beat Navy.
All right, well, being the only Navy guy on the call here, I feel like I need to say go Navy. But thank you, Alex. Appreciate the introduction. Let's move over to the Air Force with Mike and Liz. Mike, do you want to kick us off next?
Yes, Jeff. Thank you. I'm a technical program manager. I've been at Google for about a year now. I work in the Google Global Network organization, which is a part of the Google Cloud division. I previously worked at several corporations, including IBM, the federal government, and Verizon. My positions range from network engineering to leadership positions. Prior to the corporate world, I decided to aim high. So I enlisted into the United States Air Force on active duty and active reserve in 1990, in which I was a Desert Storm veteran. Now, I want to reiterate this. I was enlisted, not a commissioned officer. So you know what they say, I had to work for a living.
Outstanding.
My expertise was in satellite communications and military intelligence. Throughout my career, I completed a Master of Science degree in computer systems and an MBA. And in my spare time, I serve as an advocate for the Board for Corrections of Military Records, supporting disadvantaged veterans and underserved communities.
Impressive, Mike. Thank you very much. Liz?
Yeah, so like was already mentioned, like Mike, I aimed high, joined the Air Force. For me, I entered via ROTC, then commissioned and served 11 years on active duty. I decided to transition from the military to the private sector via graduate school using my GI Bill. And now I'm a product manager on Android.
Now, I know everyone listening in right now really wants to hear the 3 of you share your coming to Google story. So let's spend a little bit of time there. How did you end up joining? What was your career journey like to get here? Mike, is that something you can help us out with here to start?
Yeah, absolutely. It was simple, Jeff. Simple. I was recruited through a global outreach job board, and I was just passively looking for a change at the time. I was hired on the first round of recruiting interviews at Google, which to me was an accomplishment in its own. Hiring at Google is very different from other corporations' recruiting processes, at least from what I've experienced. Google evaluates and focuses on the whole person and what you as an individual can contribute to the company and the customers that we serve. Needless to say, I learned a lot about myself through the eyes of other people.
Yeah, well, my story is very different from Mike's. I decided that I wanted to come to Google when I was still transitioning out of the military. I was really attracted to the company's mission and to the reputation that the company has for helping people get information that they need. It definitely took some persistence. It took me 2 years of steadily applying and looking until I got that interview, but it was totally worth it. In the meantime, I worked at Amazon Fulfillment as a training manager, and I also worked at UMA, which was a startup then, as a business services operations manager.
And I think my story is also different from both of yours. So while I was still active duty, I was reflecting on what type of work I wanted to do, what type of work I enjoyed, and for me that was some work that was on the technical side, and then also involved cross-functional management. And so when I was entering the MBA program, I went to the Google Student Veterans Summit the summer before. And so a group of us came to Mountain View and we learned about Google and different roles. That's when I first heard about product management, and that it was sort of this mix of being on the engineering side and doing a lot of cross-functional management. So that sounded good to me. And I then applied and did an internship and then transitioned over full-time.
Awesome. Three great stories, three unique stories. Thank you for sharing. We talked a little bit at the beginning about culture, the culture here at Google being unique. How have you found that culture here to be either similar or different from the culture that you experienced in the military? Alex?
Yeah, great question. So there are some clear differences in the way that we might approach solving problems at Google. There's less of an obvious hierarchy, so people are sort of coming up with the ideas from bottoms up to solve things, more of a grassroots approach, if you want to look at it that way. Individuals are expected to propose their own solutions, and there's often not a standard operating procedure to do those things, at least yet. But there are some similarities to the military as well, such as the scale of the problems that we're addressing. And there's also a very strong mentorship culture, which I enjoyed a lot from my time in the military.
Well, being from the Air Force, since I aimed high, some of our similarities focus on driving quality deliverables and expectations at the highest level of standards. The military is much more structured than Google, since we typically thrive on ambiguity. Some examples are management without authority, which is obviously very different from the military. So that was a change for me. Another is the bottom-up approach at Google, which the rank and file have a significant impact on the strategic directions at Google and our technology. We build products for everyone, and there are many people involved in building those products, just like the United States Air Force.
Now, a lot of what each of you learned in the military, I'm sure, is showing up in your everyday job. Liz, you want to talk a little bit about how that shows up for you?
Yeah, so for me, there's a lot of overlap skill-wise in terms of what I did in the military and what I bring to Google. And I think in the military, when I did cross-functional management, it looked like bringing together different air assets with ground, surface, subsurface, even space assets. And here at Google, it's a bit different. I'm still doing that cross-functional management, bringing different types of people together, but that's typically software, hardware engineering, design, and research. And sort of that forms the core team and how we develop products. And then also what's similar for me is just that process of gathering and incorporating different perspectives to try to find the best solution to move forward.
Yeah, so Liz mentioned those cross-functional teams and cross-functional efforts, and I want to mimic that because that is very important. That's the name of the game here. One thing that I learned in the military or got to work on a lot was efficient communication, and that's so important to managing cross-functional projects. You have to be able to communicate clearly and effectively to keep everyone aligned to a goal. When I was in the military, I had the opportunity to run a multifunctional logistics program, and that let me have a lot of different projects with different stakeholders all organized within a central program. That experience has really served me a lot since I came to the tech industry in general, especially at Google. And then when you're in the military, you get a lot of that leadership experience. So I had the opportunity to do both direct and lateral leadership. Direct as a platoon leader, managing my individual platoon, but then also lateral leadership, just working with other platoon leaders towards central unit goals. So you get experience on both of those levels, which really helps out here too.
Outstanding. Thank you both. And let's spend a little bit of time talking about your roles. You guys shared earlier titles such as technical program manager, product manager, product support manager. And I'm sure there's lots of folks listening in right now that are asking themselves, what does all of that mean? And as we all know, there's lots of engineers at Google, but we also have a wide range of roles across business, technology, and operations. So let's talk a little bit about your day-to-day roles here and really what that entails. Alex, I'd like to start with you. What is GTech? Tell us a little bit about your role, what that means, and what does a product support manager do in GTech?
Yeah, this is a great question for transitioning veterans or military spouses, anyone who's sort of moving areas. Uh, I work in Google Technical Services, or GTech. We focus on support and operations. So my organization is made up of project and program managers, and we're all developing customer support experiences. GMB, or Google My Business, it's a tool that businesses use to put their information on the map. So they do this in order to attract customers. As the help center product support manager, I lead projects that improve the educational materials so that they can do those things better. And then I also collect feedback from our users so that I can use that to inform the engineering team of potential product improvements.
That's great. And Mike, you're in one of our quicker growing areas of the company, Google Cloud. You mind sharing a little bit about what that means and in your role specifically as a technical program manager?
Well, it's like being the jack of all trades, Jeff. Like herding cats sometimes, or even herding lions. So, as a technical program manager, which is the official term, or TPM, I focus on leading technical and engineering initiatives across various parts of the organization. TPMs typically have a wide variety of industry driven technologies across many technologies. We help drive strategic objectives and key results that move the business forward. This makes Google a strong player and competitor in the cloud networking space. Google Cloud provides a web hosting and Google managed data center services to help clients deliver their services to their customers.
Incredible. Great. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. And Liz, part of the Android team, product manager on the Android team. Of course, Android's massive mobile operating system for the company, for the world. Share a little bit about your role on Android and what that means.
Yeah, of course. So first off, at Google, product management falls on the engineering side of the company. And specifically, product management, what I focus on is defining the goal. And this is often by prioritizing which problems are most important to solve and why. And that ultimately drives what to build. And so I work closely with software engineers and TPMs like Mike to implement solutions and then help bring in other functions such as research and design into the product development process. And the PM is always also looking out for the people who are ultimately using the product as well. And then in Android, partnering is a large component of the work. So our team is constantly interfacing with different types of partners, particularly those who manufacture Android devices, their hardware suppliers and app developers around the world. We also interface with other Google teams, particularly Pixel software and hardware teams. And on a daily basis, a lot of people ask me what actually I do. I'd say my time is split between a lot of meetings and then individual work in which I might be writing docs, creating presentations, or looking at data. And it could be quantitative data or qualitative data, like the info that Alex is collecting in those help centers.
Alex, Mike, Liz, three really exciting areas across the company. Great to hear your experiences. Thanks for sharing that. Now, we talked earlier about Google's culture, and part of Google's culture really emphasizes navigating through ambiguity. Let's spend a few minutes to really just talk about how each of you have managed your career path specifically. What pivots have you made over your career, either here at Google or elsewhere, that have helped you reach a specific career goal? Alex, is that something you want to share with a little bit with us on?
Yeah, we have a lot of flexibility in our career path here at Google, and that comes along with that ambiguity that we have to navigate. For myself, I have a long-term goal to be in engineering program management. So I guess you could say I want to be like Mike. But GTech gives me a lot of opportunities to create a plan that works me towards that. So for example, I told my manager about a year and a half ago that I wanted to do more program management type of work and work towards that role. So we shaped my job so that I use a lot of the same tools and principles that you'll see technical program managers use, things around data analysis or good decision making. So I'm practicing those program manager skills while I'm doing my job, balancing resources and managing stakeholders. I also have some mentors who have helped me develop along the way, and I participate in extra projects that will either increase my skills or my professional network, better my network towards that role one day. So when I was in the military, there was less ambiguity when it came to career development, but that did show me what right looks like and how to, notice a good plan and learn from best practices of others.
So first things first, I am extremely flattered, Alex, that you want to be like Mike. However, being like Mike means to be disciplined and focused and often put others before yourself. That's part of what a technical program manager does. I would say that's very similar to Google, so I'm a natural fit for this role. So remaining flexible and quickly adapt to constant change, for Google expanded this concept compared to many organizations that I've been a part of. Collaboration is mandatory and all ideas are encouraged here at Google. At Google, I had to quickly learn to adapt to many styles and personalities similar to mine, some not so similar. We call that emotional intelligence. We apply ourselves and our many life experiences. This allows me to be more open-minded to everyone's ideas and opinions because we have a common goal of delivering our best product at every release that we produce at Google today.
And Mike, I've got to say, I agree. Flexibility is the key to air power, which any airman knows. And also flexibility is key at Google. Now for me, what was mentioned, ambiguity, has shown up the most as a new Googler, also known as a noogler. And so as a noogler, I found that I needed to be ready to make my own training plan when I was starting on a new team or project. Typically, onboarding would start with a conversation with the manager, and then that leads to a bunch of documents to review and other people to talk to. And it's a cycle that just repeats itself. The learning process is really continuous here. I'm always learning from other Googlers, our partners, researchers, and of course, the people who use our products.
Thanks for sharing that. Those lessons learned, I think, are so important for everyone listening in on really how to own and manage your career going forward. So really appreciate you all sharing. As veterans, you all know that mission matters, and at Google, it's no different. We have an opportunity every day to advance our mission, to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. All of our work is guided by that mission. We build products and services for billions of people around the world. Tell me a little bit about how the work you're doing today at Google is contributing to that broader mission. How is your work impacting the world? Liz, can you kick us off with that one?
Yeah, so mission is one of the primary reasons that I chose Google. I realized that I use Google products at least weekly, if not daily. And so when I had the chance to choose which team to join, I saw that Android had billions of active devices worldwide. And I thought that was a really cool mission. So within Android, we're dedicated to maintaining all of those billions of devices. And we do that, as I had mentioned before, working with partners to improve the platform and developers. and really to ultimately serve those people who are using Android, relying on it on a daily basis. Also, as an extracurricular, I'm able to help the veteran community as a co-lead of VetNet Bay Area. I've got the shirt on right here. And also by participating in events for transitioning veterans like this one.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about the mission and that Liz mentioned that, because for me it's also very important and compelling, that primary mission. Google My Business it connects customers and businesses around the world, millions of businesses, and our help center gets millions of views every month. So any little thing that we can do to improve the educational materials there, that could make the difference for businesses that are trying to attract more customers or to retain their current customers. Uh, GMB recently added some special attributes like special instructions for COVID, or you can declare that your business is veteran-led, Black-led, woman-led. And all of these attributes just help consumers that are out there using Google search or maps just make those connections with the businesses. Personally, I do work with VetNet as well on various veteran assistance programs, like transition programs like 4Block. I also personally have a blog called Tech Job Vets. I use that to meet and counsel veterans and military members who are thinking about that transition to tech. I like to volunteer in my community as well. And I also try to give back through the business I co-own with my wife, which is a home-based pediatric therapy services company.
Well, I am so impressed, and thank you for your service, Alex, even in your community. So as a TPM, or Technical Program Manager, the more you know, the better you are and the more successful you are at that position. Various technologies and experiences and knowledge in many areas are key to the products that makes Google a strong corporation. Google Cloud provides a global reach for all clients in all industries across the Google Corporation, including from within Google. Google Cloud provides a global reach for clients and helps customers do what they do best while trusting us to be a strategic partner, competitively relevant today and in the future. Like in the military, I find people at Google are truly dedicated to their individual and overall mission. I am equally proud to serve our community as I did our country in the United States Air Force. My parting words will always be, never give up and aim high.
Thank you all very, very much, Mike. Appreciate those words. Liz, Alex, thank you for sharing. At the very beginning, and we kicked off and we said we'd hear from 3 amazing Googler veterans. I don't think we disappointed. So thank you very, very much for sharing your stories and your career journeys to Google. We hope that everyone here got a sense of Google's culture, how the experiences and skills gained in the military make veterans great Googlers, and the ways in which Googlers are having a real impact in contributing to our mission. If you're interested in learning about Google's application process, check out the YouTube video on the resource tab of this series homepage. It covers tips on resumes, mentorship, and interviewing. And lastly, we will be hosting a live Q&A taking place on November 10th at 11 a.m. Pacific time on this same site. Please join us, and please submit any burning questions via the form in the session description. Again, thank you to Liz, Mike, and Alex, and of course, thank you all for taking time to join us.
And thank you, Jeff.
Aim high.
Thanks, Jeff. Hua.